I think what would be helpful is that you have a curious mindset. I think this is very important because we are in a fast-moving technology world.
Hi everyone, today Lee Sa is here. He's security engineer at ExpressVPN. In the last episode, we asked him about security engineer job responsibilities and its challenges. Today, we will talk about how to get this position and its career path. So Lee Sa, first question, if the audience is inexperienced, what kind of background or experience will it be helpful to become security engineer?
So this is actually a very interesting question. I would also take myself as an example. But before that, I would like to clarify this can be company dependent because the security engineering function is still not very well established. It is like IT 10 years ago, right? When you say IT, it can be anything under the IT umbrella. Yeah, but nowadays there's a specific function for IT. So it's the same for security engineer. There are different functions within security engineering, but right now it's under one big umbrella. So taking myself as an example, I do not have a traditional tertiary education, so I don't have a university degree. So experience here can come from a lot of places. I think what would be helpful is that you have a curious mindset. I think this is very important because we are in a fast-moving technology world. If you are not curious to learn or to grow, it's very hard for you to upkeep with all the different changes that is going around. And security is constantly evolving, right? The threats, the kind of attack that we are seeing in the wild is multiplying every year. So to keep up with that, you need your own motivation. You require a lot of dedication if you do not have that kind of motivation. And then, yeah, security is broad. A general awareness in security would be very helpful. It's like making it a common sense, right? There are some common sense that we have in a day-to-day life that we can also apply to security. Say, for example, when you're outside, you're traveling, you don't show your cash or your money in front of everyone. That is the same thing that you would do with security. So that is a common sense. So this is something that as a practitioner, we would want to practice this and make it into our habit. Yeah, so these are the different habits that we want to learn and grow as we grow in this role. Yeah, so having this and having a curious mindset, I believe it will be very helpful in terms of getting into this position. In terms of technical skill or background, I think software engineering skill, and also if you have different knowledge in other security area, they will also be helpful with this.
All right, thank you very much. Do you have any recommendation like reading book or any tool to learn about security engineer from your experience?
Yes, there's no specific recommendation of tools. What I would suggest is looking at the industry that you're interested in. If taking our example, we are a VPN company. If you're interested to work in a VPN company, you can look at our job description for security engineers. And then from there, you can look at the kind of responsibility that we have, the kind of tools that we use. Then you can explore from there, you can learn from there. You adapt to the environment. If you're looking, say, for example, into banks, then they'll have different set of tools, different set of requirements. So by looking at that job description, you will know what are they looking for, right? And then the other thing is, it's very important to also ask the question why they use this tool. We need to know the intention. So as we study the intention, we get to understand about the security space, the requirement around it as well. And then second thing that I would actually recommend is to join security conferences. So there is a few popular security conferences, but there is also, I believe, local meetup group that happens around the world. We have a few in Singapore. I believe there's also a few in Japan. And then thirdly, would be to participate in CTF. So this is very security specific. CTF is called Capture the Flag. So it's a competition. There is also a non-competitive setup where you can actually join and take your time to play around in the environment. So what CTF means is that it's actually a game where you try to hack a vulnerable system. Okay, I'll give a more traditional example in terms of, let's say, your house, right? How do you know that you have the good lock? How do you know that your house is secure? To know that, you will have to attack the house, right? You have to try to be a thief. Yeah, so this is the same. We're trying to be an attacker into a vulnerable system. So once we manage to breach the system, we will know this is not the right way to do. Then we will learn to detect. And then we will learn to defend. So these are all the different part of process for learning security. And I learned a lot in the past from CTF. So you will learn about what is unsafe, all the recommendation that you should do. Typically, the vulnerable system, they make it very obvious that this is something that you should not do. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. So you said CTF.
Yes, CTF.
I see. All right. Thank you very much. So if I Google it, I can find out.
Yes, you can find it. There's a lot of resource online on this.
That's really helpful. Thank you very much. So next question. So if you are interviewer in front of security engineer candidate, what kind of question would you ask to the candidate and why you ask that question?
I'll break this down into 3 different parts. So the first part, as an example, I will ask about encryption technology. On the surface, it might seem like an answer that you can memorize. But the way we ask it is that we will ask about the differences. When do you use what technology? Right. So there's a broad set of encryption technology. I think what we are trying to look at is that whether or not you understand the compromise. Because in security world, it's always compromise, convenience versus security. So you have to be able to do the trade-off. You have to understand enough to do the trade-off. So by asking this kind of question, we will know whether or not the candidate is first interested or curious about all the different technology, and then whether or not they will actually understand how to compare them, how to do the trade-off, and know when to apply. Right? I think that is very important because engineering is application. Right? Apply what you know into your day-to-day work. And also, ability to explain something, I think, is an indicator that someone understands the technology well. If you only know and memorize on the surface, you will not be able to explain in depth about the technology. And then the second part is that we will ask them to give us an example of the automation that they have done. So I think majority of our work in security engineering is automating. Right? We are helping the offensive security and also threat hunting team to automate and scale because we cannot just keep hiring more and more people. We will have to multiply the output, right? In order to multiply, we will do automation. So by them giving us an example of how they do automation, we will actually be able to know what goes through their mind, how do they think about the solution, what are they looking at, right? And then we will drill down further on the example that they give, asking them about whether or not there's any trade-off. Again, engineering, there's always trade-off. Security, there's always trade-off. So what trade-off did they take and what were they thinking about those trade-offs? Trade-off is a very important engineering skill. And then lastly, we will walk through an example of a threat modeling scenario. So threat modeling is something that I was explaining earlier, like for example, you have a house, how do you actually ensure the house is safe? What do you do? Right. So this is the same. We will give a scenario in terms of a software or a system or a server. How do you know what is not safe and how do you actually protect them? This relates back to why I was saying that CTF is actually very useful in terms of learning all this, because by playing CTF, you know all these defensive techniques.
All right. Thank you very much. And next question is, what is the career path for the security engineer?
Okay, so from my perspective, there's 2 paths to come into security engineer, and then there's also 2 paths going above. So to come to security engineer, you either come through a typical traditional security team, where you're doing offensive security or you're doing threat hunting, right? Which is the blue and the red team. Or you can come in through software engineering. So when you do software engineering, you kind of know in the engineering perspective already. Then what you need to do is to learn about security. If you come in through security, then you need to learn about engineering. So security engineering is a combine of both discipline together and apply them to scale and also to automate, right? So then beyond security engineering, this is very company dependent. Taking our company as an example, we have individual contributor role and also managerial role as we progress further. We have a very long path for individual contributor because a lot of the engineers, they just like to do engineering work. They don't like to manage people. So not to say they don't like to manage people, I was saying they prefer to work with technology. So with that preference, we can choose to advance further in our security engineering role as an individual contributor, or you can advance yourself into a managerial role where you manage a team of security engineers.
I see. All right, thank you very much. What kind of new skills are required when promoted from security engineer?
Again, this is very company dependent. Taking myself as an example in ExpressVPN. So the ability to design and engineer end-to-end solution is very important. From a junior role, you will be doing the task of an engineering solution. We will break it down into each task. The junior will take care of the task. Now, as you move out to a senior role, what you will do is you will be designing the whole solution. And then you have to engineer the end-to-end solution. You have to look at the different trade-off, which is what I would be asking the candidate during the interview. And then the ability to translate business need into engineering specification. This is very important because we can't just talk about technology and all day, right? This is a business end of the day. So in order to work well in the company or to progress further, we will need to be able to understand the business requirement. So the business will need us to do X and Y. We will need to be able to translate that into a technology or engineering specification so that the rest of the team will understand what to do. Then lastly, I think this is very important and usually not many people pay attention to, is soft skill. I think soft skill is very important to help us grow. Coaching, cross-team collaboration, these are all the soft skills that we appreciate when members join, when they have, because it helps to grow the team. It helps to build a stronger team.
I see. Lisa, thank you very much. So it was really helpful.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure to attend your show.
Thank you. If you have any question, please write a comment on comment section. And if you want to know more about market information, please contact to us. So Lisa, thank you very much.
Thank you.